On parts of the budget. Let me bring in Senator Bernie Sanders, an independent from Vermont. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
You're considering the president's budget also raises taxes on the wealthy and closes some corporate loopholes. Is it fair to try to make some small changes in Social Security and Medicare?
Well, I think we should make changes in Social Security to make sure that Social Security can pay out all benefits for the next 50 or 75 years. What I do not believe is that we should support the so-called chain CPI, which makes very, very significant cuts in Social Security on the backs of people who can ill afford to experience those cuts. We're talking, if you're 65 years of age right now, by the time you're 75, that's $650 a year less. That is a lot of money, Chris, if you're trying to live on $15,000 a year, especially when Social Security hasn't added a nickel to the deficit.
Well, you probably saw, Senator, let me stop you on the numbers, because Bob Shrum wrote about this in the Daily Beast today, and the big headline, Democrats need to stop attacking Obama's budget and wake up to reality. Chain CPI, he said, would initially yield about $2 less a month in the average Social Security check, and as its effects multiplied in 20 years, the difference would be $126, approximately $2,100 instead of $2,200 a month. Why is that too much to ask, is the question that supporters are asking.
I don't agree. The numbers that I believe to be absolutely accurate is that if you're 65 now, by the time you're 75, you're going to lose $650 a year, period. Furthermore, we're talking about very significant cuts for disabled veterans, very significant cuts. In the course of a lifetime, tens of thousands of dollars a year. Do I think we should balance the budget on the backs of disabled vets and their families? No, I do not. So especially when Social Security is funded by the payroll tax, it is not responsible for the deficit in any way. So we want to deal with the long-term solvency of Social Security, but not through the context of deficit reduction.
So would that be a payroll tax hike? Because obviously that's going to be a tough fight with the Republicans.
Well, you know, maybe with the Republicans, but it's not with the American people. The American people, poll after poll, say that it is absurd that if you're making $1 million a year and you're making $113,000 a year, you're both putting the same amount of money into the Social Security Trust Fund.
But, Senator, you know, because we're looking at guns right now, 90% of the American people favor background checks, and that's not even looking like a sure thing. So I understand that the polls say that Americans like to tax millionaires, but the reality of getting that through Congress is something different altogether.
Well, and then if there are people, you know, that's what democracy is about. If people choose to go against what the vast majority of the people in their districts or their state or this nation, then they have to pay a price. But what I can tell you is in the midst of a horrendous recession, where the middle class is disappearing, the gap between the people on top and everybody else is growing wider, the American people understand how important it is not to cut Social Security or benefits for disabled vets.
The New York Times, I'm sure you saw this, is reporting that liberal groups and unions are threatening to challenge Democrats from the left. House Republicans may use this attack on seniors in the general election, which is very interesting that suddenly they're saying that it's the president, the administration who's attacking seniors. How important do you think this could be in 2014, potentially even in 2016?
Well, I think we're all familiar with the fact that the Republicans spent millions of dollars saying inaccurately that the Democrats cut Medicare, and the day after the election they talked about ending Medicare as we know it. So clearly many of us understand that for years the Republicans have either wanted to privatize Social Security or make massive cuts in Social Security. Would I be surprised that if Democrats support the president's cuts to Social Security, the Republicans will jump on that issue in 30-second TV ads? I certainly would not be surprised.
Senator Bernie Sanders, always good to have you on the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, when you hear the talk about future implications